and if you'd like to give testimony.
I'm in favor of the project, and I do not need to give testimony. I'm here as a representative for Trace Layton.
Okay, thank you for that. So the hearing is being conducted both in person and using WebEx. Everyone on WebEx has been muted and will be unmuted when it is time for them to speak. The staff report and any additional exhibits have been posted on the county website on the land use hearings page. You may wish to open those documents if you haven't done so already. The applicant who has requested the hearing or their representative will testify first. Since the applicant has the burden of proof, testimony will be given from them in favor of the application. Witness, and we don't have anyone that's signed up for neutral or in opposition. So we will take 10 minutes of testimony from the representative. And if you refer to an exhibit or computer projection, please use specific verbal descriptions such as an exhibit number, location, or direction so that a transcript can be made for review if necessary. Before we begin taking testimony, Monica will administer the oath or affirmation to staff and those listed on the sign-in sheet who wish to offer testimony.
Dan Lister, Trace Layton, do you swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do.
Great. Before we begin taking testimony, is there any member of the board who, for reasons of a conflict of interest, requests to be excused from participating in this item? Having none, we will continue. We will begin now by taking evidence from Development Services staff and presenting any late exhibits.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioner White. Before you today is 3 decisions. One of them is a comprehensive plan map amendment to amend the future land use designation shown on these the parcel on the screen from agriculture to residential. The second item is a zoning map amendment or rezone from an agricultural zone to a rural residential zone, and then also to consider the preliminary plat for the Layton Lakes Estates number 2. Staff is going to summarize the staff report and will be open for questions afterwards. In this case, I'm going to show you the zoning of this area. The zoning is primarily agricultural, but as you can see, there is some adjacent residential zone that was approved during, as stated in your staff report. This was done in 2018. It's called Layton Estates number 1. Layton Lakes Estates number 1. This is part of a comprehensive plan and rezone of that property done in 2018. So there is an adjacent use similar to what is being requested. To the right is a vicinity map. You can see surrounding the property are larger farmland grounds, but to the north you see more lot sizes that are commensurate with what is being requested. To the left, you can see the future land use plan designates not this property, but the properties to the north as a residential future land use designation area with some commercial along Highway 44. To the right, you can see City of Middleton's future land use plan, which designates this for residential uses. The special areas, as indicated on their map, just means it could be in the floodplain, and so to take those precautions. To the left on this screen is subdivisions that have been approved within the area. As stated in their staff report and shown on the screen, there are a number of about 9 subdivisions within that area. One of them is Layton Lakes Estates number 1 that was approved adjacent to this project site. The others are within a 1 mile radius and commensurate with the request today. To the left, as you can see, this was previously a gravel pit, and so was the land division, the subdivision to the north, and there's still an existing gravel pit operation adjacent to it that I believe is starting to get close to their finish, and with talks to some of the owners of those properties, those areas probably will become residential as well. To the left, as you see, is our soils maps. This is a property that has moderately to least suited soil. Since this was an existing gravel pit, the soils are probably have definitely been extracted because there's lakes on the property. So the soil map is not very representative to what is actually there. To the right is our TAZ map. This is the traffic analysis zone. We usually use this information, which is usually use it for traffic-related data for Compass, but typically gives us an idea of what the future population, households, and jobs are forecasted in the area. As you can see, in the area alone, there's not a humongous change in the growth in residential, but right next door, that little the tan shaded area is promoting about 51 to 150 additional houses between now and 2040. In general, it's consistent with the Communities in Motion's regional transportation plan and their forecasts for residential development within this area. As part of this decision is the Layton Lakes Estates subdivision. So this is 105.96 acres. Average lot size is 15.13 acres. What is really being requested here is 6 residential lots and 1 road lot. One of the lots, lot 5, is Mr. Layton's current residence, which already has existing dwelling on it. The road would be the extension of Trigger Ranch Lane, which is a private road. So lots 2 and 5 will have direct access off of that extended lane. Lots 6 and 7 would be using a shared access easement to get access to that private road. Water would be domestic wells. A shared septic system is proposed on lots 2, 3, and 4. The drainage field is proposed within an easement on lots 4 and 5. Lots 5, 6, and 7 will have their own individual system. Irrigation on the property is from the surface water rights from the lakes on the property. So existing irrigation pump and control are located on the west side of the existing lakes, which will be used to irrigate the properties. Shared pressurized irrigation lines will be installed with proposed utility easement within the utility easements. This just shows you what you have on your in front of you. It's just an overview, a picture of the preliminary plat being proposed. The one thing that needs to be addressed is this is in a floodplain, so half of it is within an AE floodway, and the other one is AE zone, and the screen shows you the base flood elevations. The area within the floodway will not be disturbed at all. This is all majority of that are all the existing lakes that are in place that were created as part of the reclamation of that gravel pit. A lot of that area also is in a conservation easement with the state. So all the development proposed in the land division or the subdivision will not be disturbing the floodway. The majority, all of the development will be within the AE zone. If you look at your plat map that was provided on the last page, you can see page PP 4.0. If you look at the elevations in that area, you can see most of it is actually above the base flood elevation being described by the firm maps that were provided. So a lot of the elevation is already above the base flood elevation, in some cases already 1 foot above. So staff didn't see this as being the development being proposed, 6 residential lots, to be a huge impact on floodplain. We have provisions in our county code that requires at the time of development, in this case would be the housing, that they would meet our floodplain permit requirements. When talking to Mr. Layton, he this is going to stay with his trust. It's supposed to provide housing for family, and he intends for each house to be approved by FEMA with a letter of map revision or amendment at that time. Just to give you some history, Layton Lakes Estates number 1 included building pads that already received a letter of map revision as part of the platting. However, since that time, we have received problems with that because most of the owners don't want to build within that pad, or they want to build bigger than the pad allowed, so they have to go through that revision process again. So as part of this decision, the applicant is not requesting to provide pads as part of the platting process. They wish to just have a note on the plat that requires them to meet all county requirements at the time of construction, or get a letter of map amendment or revision at that time. Comments. We did receive comments from agencies. Southwest District Health found the septic system and locations acceptable. Southwest District Health did approve a variance regarding the leach field setbacks from the lake. DEQ provide their standard requirements. They recommend dust control and preventative plan and a SWIP, which is a stormwater pollution prevention plan. IDFG, Department of Fish and Game, just required that their easements are protected and that there's adequate access to those areas that are part of their easement. Canyon Highway District Number 4 it realizes this is a private road off a highway, state highway, so they have no real jurisdiction over it. Star Fire reviewed this private road and the 28-foot shared access, and they believe it meets their requirements. The state NFIP coordinator requires this to go through a CLOMAR, which is a conditional letter of map revision because of the floodway. However, staff reviewed this and believes that the development is staying completely outside of the floodway, and therefore that would not be required. The public was notified. The dates on the screen are wrong. We notified them. That was the dates we notified the public for the Planning and Zoning Commission. We also notified the public based on this hearing. No comments were received. Staff today is recommending approval of the request subject to the conditions of approval shown on your screen. Most of these are just your standard conditions for platting, which is like basically getting the Southwest District Health, Highway District, Irrigation District's review and sign off. The only major changes to our standard conditions for a plat is that private roads and shared access need to be constructed to county standards. All development within the floodplain requires a floodplain development permit prior to commencement. Kind of going over this real quick. They need a water users maintenance agreement for the sharing of the irrigation system, a road users maintenance agreement for Trigger Ranch Lane. They have one already, but I think they need to amend it for the additional lots that are being created, and then a road users maintenance agreement for lots 6 and 7 off that 28-foot shared access. A note needs to be added that all development will comply with the flood permit, development permit requirements, or they can apply for a letter of map revision or amendment. Let's see, current access. There's an access to lot 19, block 1 through this property, which is used by the owner. That would be abandoned prior to the final plat signing. The reason why this is required, let me get to that screen real quick and I'll point it out. So it's right here. I believe it's right here. So their original access actually comes over here and is supposed to go through here. But what they've been using this access here, if they keep that access, then this easement no longer meets our requirement. It has to meet the private road requirements, which needs to become a road lot. So the applicant has agreed that they will abandon that access and use the access that was approved as part of the original plat for Layton Lakes number 1. So they need to demonstrate that prior to the signing of the final plat. And I believe that is, oh yeah, and then the final condition that was added was prior to board signing of the final plat, the applicant shall provide evidence that all information required by the Department of Fish and Game have been met. So basically that they are still providing access to the state for the maintenance and use of their easements. With that, staff concludes the presentation. If and just to actually not concluded yet, if the board does decide to approve this today, on the screen shows the following actions that need to take place. So first it would be the signing of the comprehensive plan map amendment, followed by the resolution amending the comprehensive plan map. And then after that would be the rezone with the ordinance amending the county zoning map, and then the final decision would be the preliminary plat. And that just concludes staff's presentation.
I have one quick question, Dan. On the conditions of approval, condition number 11 for the floodplain development, that is an ordinance requirement. And I have not typically seen us reiterate things that are already required by ordinance as a condition of approval. So I'm not sure why.
We can, through the chair, we can strike that. I think talking with the applicant, it was something they were more amendable to, especially since they're not concluding buildable lots, or the lots that would already be amended out of the floodplain. So they felt that was more a note they wanted to see. Again, staff agrees this is something that's reiterating what our code already says, so staff is fine with striking that.
Okay. And then, yeah, I think that was it for me. Commissioner White, you had a question?
I do. Dan, the question I have is about the shared septic system for 2, 3, and 4. Is that, I just want to picture what that's like. Is that like the big system that Brittany Heights has? Or how, what is the difference here? The applicant said he will be able to answer that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Through the chair, staff does not, staff, all we have is what is before you and what has been approved by Southwest District Health. I believe the applicant can provide more information and details regarding that.
Okay, thank you. I'll just wait and ask him.
Okay. Director Nielsen did have her hand raised. She has not been sworn in. Did she still have a question? She's helping somebody else, it looks like, so let's put her on mute. Okay. So, there were no late exhibits, and at this time, if there's no other questions for staff, I will turn this over to Trace Layton for testimony. You have 10 minutes.
Can Dan hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Dan, is this the time that I asked about Layton Ranch instead of Layton Lake number 2?
You can. This is your time.
Okay.
Yes,
so originally, when I did the Layton Lake Estates, I was dealing with Debbie Root, and originally they weren't going to let me name the subdivision with my common name, and then they came back and said, oh, no, you can. So it started out as Trigger Ranch Lake Estates. We moved it to Layton Lake Estates once I found that out. But at the same time, I'd asked Debbie, this next part's coming, and am I going to be able to name that Layton Ranch? Now Dan has found, I think it's State Deal or something that recommends. Anyways, I don't want to name it Layton Lake Estates number 2. This is going to be my family's, my legacy basically that I'm leaving. And it was always supposed to be Layton Ranch. And if I'd have been told that at the beginning, I would have named Layton Lake Estates number 1, Layton Ranch number 1. So anyway, Dan, we went through and we switched it on all the paperwork, but I knew one of the committees I was going in front of, I was supposed to ask if they would, I'm not sure the right language, but.
So the first subdivision is Layton
Lake Estates number 1.
Oh, okay.
And they're wanting me to name this Layton Lake Estates number 2. And at first I was told it was because of EMS services. So I talked to those guys and they're like, no, we don't care. And then I don't have the stuff with me, but Dan sent me I don't know, Dan, maybe you can step in with why.
Yeah, and can I ask a question? Because let's say that Mr. Layton owned the land to the north and developed it, and then sold this land to someone else, and he's going for a full rezone and land use approval. And so it would seem to me that if it was a different owner, they would not have to carry on the continuation of the subdivision name. And so it would seem like that we could allow him to have a separate subdivision unless it was included in the original subdivision, which would have already had land use approval, and then this would have been identified as a phase 2 in that subdivision, which this wasn't, correct?
Through the chair, correct. So you're right, they can choose a different name. However, state law says they can't have a name that is repetitive or basically using another name. And so, though Mr. Layton did get information from Debbie early on, upon checking with our addressing staff and GIS staff, as well as our county surveyor and engineer, it came to the consensus that this was Layton is a duplicate name adjacent to another Layton subdivision. So the request is either they match it, make it a continuation, or choose a whole different name that doesn't continue using a repetitive name, basically. So that was the decision based on state law.
But you did say the commissioners could overrule that, right?
I did not, and I don't think it states that in state law. Staff is trying to find that provision. I thought I had it in a previous email, but I currently do not. So I will continue looking through that.
You'd sent it to me at one time, Dan. I just came unprepared today. Sorry.
Yeah, I was not prepared to answer that. So I will continue looking for that state law while you present the rest of it, and I can come back.
Okay. It just kind of sucks that.
So you can or you cannot use Layton?
They don't want me to use Layton.
Layton cannot.
If I'm going to do ranch, I have to do whatever else. And this.
What if you did Ranch Layton?
It's still.
It's the name Layton that's right adjacent to another Layton. So there's a confusion there, and so state law basically says it needs to either be a continuation or a whole different name.
Which is interesting to me because it's like the emergency services typically isn't dispatched to a subdivision; they're dispatched to a road.
Or a name of a road, yeah.
Yeah, and so
their comment really doesn't help in this case. It's based on state law and the interpretation of state law when it comes to naming a subdivision. So if this Layton's already taken and it's basically reviewed as being a consecutive use, he can't use the same name over and over. So in this case, since it's adjacent to another one named Layton, either you match that one or you use a whole different name. Again, I will try to find that code. I'm just telling you how it's been interpreted by our GIS staff and our county surveyor.
Okay.
And it's obviously Ada County must not follow that state law because there's a new development on McMillan between, I think, Dermot and Blackcat. The south side was called, I can't remember the name, but it was called St. John's Bluff or whatever. Now they're doing completely on the other side of McMillan, and they're just calling it North John's, whatever. I'm like,
Commissioner, that is actually in the city jurisdiction, so we don't have control over what the jurisdiction does with subdivision names. We're just using what we've always
I get that, and I think Trace understood that as well. He mentioned that. I think you missed it. But he just felt like that there was, if they weren't following state code, that there must be a way to not do it. So I've asked Monica to contact Zach Wesley and to see if we can just get a legal interpretation, if that's something that we can help with.
Okay. Sounds great.
Okay.
because my kids want me to change the name of Lake now. They're like, oh, Dad, that was your. So.
Yeah, okay. We'll come back to that.
That's all I have. Oh, the other thing about your septic. It's just a shared leach field.
Okay.
And it's that they each have their own tank. And then a couple of them are going to require a pump to get that far, or one of them is. And so it's just, we're just sharing the leach field. And the other thing, like Dan said, my trust is going to own everything out here.
Okay.
And there'll be multiple houses built, but it's going to be set up where this place can never be sold. So there's only one living heir from my bloodline. So right now I got 2 grandkids that are 3 and 1, so I think we'll be all right for a while.
I think so.
So the matter before us right now, will you go, and I think we can discuss the subdivision name next, but so that we can continue moving forward, is there any other testimony that we would like to have provided from our witness?
I don't think so. This is Madam Chair, this is a continuation. Yeah, good with it. It's a fantastic location and the way it's designed. Yeah.
And I would agree that it is a continuation of the existing rural residential zoning in that area. It typically would not encourage residential growth in the floodplain in this area, but the size of the lots and providing the topography and the contours is very helpful in this case because, as Dan pointed out, most of the lots are already above the base flood elevation, so I don't think that we're approving something that has a risk of being inundated and costing. So I think that's great. So if we can, I would accept a motion to close public testimony.
So moved.
There is a motion, and I'll second that, to close public testimony. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Public testimony is now closed. Based on the staff report, testimony, and exhibits we have received today, does the board have any changes it would like to make to the recommended findings and/or conclusions? I personally would like to see the condition removed that's repetitive of a zoning ordinance requirement related to the floodplain. So that would, I think it was condition number 11. Yeah, I would like to see condition 11 removed.
I'm good with that.
I have a question. Okay. I don't personally have any other changes that I would like to see, so I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I just wanted to read to you the state law pertaining to the name. So it's section 50-1307, and it states plats of towns, subdivisions, or additions must not bear the name of any other towns or additions in the same county, nor can the same word or words similar or pronounced the same be used in making a name for said town or additions, except the words city, place, court, addition, or similar words, unless the same is contiguous and laid out and platted by the same party or parties platting the addition bearing the same name.
So I got to ask then, you said if they're contiguous?
Correct. So in this case, they're contiguous to Layton Lakes Estates number 1, or the first division. So they could be called Layton Lakes Estates number 2 and use Layton, the name Layton. But if they're not going to continue with that name, then they must not bear the name the name, nor can they use the same word or words similar or pronounce the same.
Tell me that code again.
It's 50-1307.
So that's in the finances section of the state statute?
Plats and vacation section, 50-1307.
1037.
Let me try to put it on the screen.
You have a question?
Trace does.
Yeah, I've got to reopen testimony.
Oh, that's right. And I'll make a motion that we reopen public comment.
I will second that. Here's a motion and a second to reopen public testimony. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I would ask Mr. Layton for additional testimony.
So, can you print that?
He's not. He says no. Yeah.
So I don't have the document in front of me, but I hate attorneys, but I had my attorney read.
Okay.
And he feels that it says at the beginning, city, township, I'm just kind of shooting here, subdivision, but then later on, everything it says is that the development can't be named after this. I need that paper, sorry.
No. Is there,
It basically drops the word subdivision after that first time, or development, whatever the word is. It drops that, and it just makes it where you can't name them after the city or the township.
Dan, when he was reading it, that's what I was hearing, is that we can't name it after the city, but you can share that language.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it on. Apologize. I'll get it
We
there.
don't have a screen here, Dan. I don't.
Yeah, we'll have to share with you.
And then later on, towards the last paragraph, there's something else.
Tricia has her hand up. You want me to unmute her?
We can unmute her, but you'll have to swear her in. Okay. Tricia, you haven't been sworn in, so if you'd like to testify, this is Director Nielsen, and I will have Monica administer the oath.
Tricia Nielsen, do you swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do. Yeah, Madam Chair, and Dan has it up on the screen now, but it does say subdivisions in there, in addition to towns and additions.
Lots of towns.
Just on the first comment.
Yeah.
Do you want me to put this on?
I don't have mine on.
And if it's helpful, I can run over a printed copy. Monica, if you want me to.
No, we're fine right now.
Okay.
Just a second.
So where it says must not bear the name of any other town or addition in the same county. But it drops the word subdivision.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm just speaking for my attorney. And then down later it says...
So plats of towns, subdivisions, or additions must not bear the name of any other town or addition. So it can't bear the name of any other town or addition in the same county, nor can the same word or similar words or pronounced the same be used in making a name for said town or addition. Except for words, city, place, court, addition, and similar words. Unless the same is contiguous and platted by every party files includes consent of the party or parties who platted the addition. Right there gives them an out. It says, if it bears the same name, the party may file and record the written consent of the party or parties who platted the addition bearing the same name. All plats of the same name must continue the block. So that gives an out right there for him to have the same name.
Commissioner, that's interpreted as they can use Layton Lakes Estates. The same name upon...
You interpret it that way, but I interpret it another way.
Right. And so that's the thing. So we're interpreting it the way we've always interpreted it, and it's interpreted by the county surveyor. And so you're right. Maybe this is something where Zach needs to read it and provide interpretation that way as well. But I'm just providing you what we have always used as interpretation for naming subdivisions.
Are you okay with us continuing the meeting for legal interpretation? from our attorney?
I've been on for 11 months already.
11 months.
Couple of weeks.
Oh, he's on the phone?
He can't join via WebEx or something. I put him on my cell phone. Just,
Yeah.
want to do
He
that?
can't join WebEx?
I don't know if he's, I'm not sure.
Okay. We can continue it. Maybe we should, since he's driving, I'd rather have.
You want Leighton Ranch.
He's on to another meeting, but he can be here at 1. If you want to continue?
I want to continue, but not at 1.
Okay.
I have, a lunch meeting, and then I have a meeting with the sheriff at that. Can we meet after the code enforcement meeting at 4? It'll be fast.
Okay, what, the code enforcement meeting?
Or we can meet tomorrow. What about tomorrow? How worth it is it to you to find an answer?
Like, major, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's,
Madam Chair, if it's just, it's ranch or it's lake.
Yeah.
So the Leighton part of it is
And the Leighton part of it is the problem.
they won't let you use Leighton.
Because Leighton was already used, they're interpreting it that he can't now change. He can use Leighton, but it has to be the identical subdivision name.
So it would have been, if I would have known this in 2016, 17, whatever, I would have stayed with Leighton Ranch in the back, and then the front would have been Lakes at Leighton Ranch. And
Yeah. I think we should just continue this hearing. Let's give it time so that we can, we have legal tomorrow. Maybe we can bring this up in the legal. You're out tomorrow morning. Yeah, not tomorrow morning. What, is that when our legal is?
At 9 a.m. Tomorrow afternoon, we have COVID meeting from 1:30 to 3, and then Treasure Valley Renewable.
I'm going to come at 9.
Oh, okay.
And I have to be gone by 10.
Okay. I'll let you.
And then let's continue the hearing for Friday.
Right now, we have Diamond Development Plat at 9:30, Walker Investments rezone at 10. If we have a meeting at 11:30, but we have 11:30 to 3:30.
Yeah, let's do it 11.
Okay, continue
This hearing.
11.
Yeah, on Friday the 29th at 11 a.m. And then that gives us time to research the subdivision name.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner White.
You want the, if you would have known in 16, what did you say? The front would be Leighton,
the Lakes at Leighton Ranch,
and that would be,
which it would have been at 1 and 2.
okay,
Phase 1 and phase 2, but
the Lakes at Leighton Ranch.
yeah.
So Dan, are you still there?
I don't know that I can change that.
Oh, you can't change
No,
that?
he can't.
All 17 lots. So.
Yeah, he can't change that one.
Okay, well, never mind.
Yeah, so right now, it's really just trying to determine if our interpretation would pass legal muster with our attorney. And if it does, then we can move forward.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Staff believes you still can make a decision on the findings, facts, and conclusions of the law of the comprehensive plan amendment
I agree.
and the rezone, and then we
I
can
agree.
just table the subdivision part of it.
Completely agree, and then that way that is done. I appreciate that, Dan. Will you go back to the page that you have for, and then also, do we need to enter that as a late exhibit since we just reviewed it? I think we should. So Dan, will you give that item an exhibit number that we just looked at?
We'll call it Exhibit 12.
Okay, thank you for that. And then, for the rezone and the comprehensive plan request specifically, I would like to close public testimony.
So moved.
There is a motion, and I second that motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public testimony for the rezone and comprehensive plan map amendment is closed.
We can do the comp plan and the resolution and the zoning map and the ordinance, correct?
Yes, so we need an approval for the findings of fact, conclusions of law.
Okay. I will make that motion with regard to, Layton LLC for a comprehensive plan map amendment and the, signing of the resolution for that as well. And that is case number, where's that at? Gosh, wait, just a second.
It's RZ 2020-0008. And may I ask for clarification if that includes the removal of condition number 11?
That condition is for the subdivision part. So there's no conditions as part of the comprehensive plan or the rezone.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. So it does not include that. Okay.
Okay.
I will second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes to adopt the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and order for case number ordinance 2020-003, comprehensive plan map amendment. And then we will sign that resolution amending the comprehensive plan.
And we can do the zoning too?
Yes. And so now we need
2020-008.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep, yeah, I got it. Okay, yes.
Okay, I will make the motion that we approve the rezone for Layton LLC.
For the findings of fact.
And the findings of fact. Yes.
And order.
And there's an ordinance that goes with that one too.
Yes, with the zoning map amendment. Okay, it has been moved and I will second that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Okay. And the remaining item on today's docket is the approval of the preliminary plat for case number SD 2020-0013. I would request that be continued to January 29th at 11 a.m.
And that's your motion, so I'll second it.
Okay, there is a motion and a second to continue this case. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll see you on Friday for the subdivision. Okay.
Okay.
We are, yeah, close the.
Just so you guys kind of are aware, this whole,
Thank you, Dan.
all this improvements
That needs to.
have been done since 2018.